was asleep before. That's how we let it happen. When they slaughtered Congress, we didn't wake up. When they blamed terrorists and suspended the Constitution, we didn't wake up then either. Now I'm awake. My name is Offred. I had another name.
Ladies, I have to let you go. It's the law now.
They needed to do it this way. All the bank accounts and the jobs all at the same time. You imagine the airports otherwise?
Run!
No, please don't take her. No!
You girls will serve the leaders and their barren wives. You will bear children for them.
I'll send you to the colonies. You'll be cleaning up toxic waste and then you'll die.
Tonight is a celebration of Gilead and of what we have achieved.
We only wanted to make the world better.
Better.
Better never means better for everyone.
Remember your scripture. Blessed are the meek.
And blessed are those who suffer for the cause of righteousness.
We are completely being telegraphed that the New World Order is coming, that a big change is on the way, that a new beginning for America and possibly the entire world is definitely on the horizon. You can see that right in the symbolism, I would say, of this particular poster or ad for this show. You've got the 8-pointed star. In fact, each point has has almost like a duality to it, a black and a white. The 88, we know that in occultic numerology, 8 is the number of new beginning. We know that the 88 is the breaking of time and space and a new age that is about to dawn, and something that we are constantly being shown in the movies, in the television shows, in the cartoons, in comic books, in literature in general, even TV commercials and music videos. The New World Order is coming very, very soon.
It is foretold. Greatness will walk among us. One unlike the rest. One of one. The size of a mountain with heart to match. He'll move like lightning. Crash down like thunder. A presence that draws crowds from far and wide. The next generation. Everything is game.
And as we can see, even one of the handmaids that is sitting right over this star of Ishtar, the star of the new beginning of the pagan god Ishtar, or I should say goddess Ishtar and Isis. Again, new beginning. Something is about to happen. I believe we are being shown that the takedown of America is coming, and this is exactly what the New World Order wants, or the Luciferian elite. And as we take a look, as always, with screenshots from the trailer and some information from the internet, let's see if you can spot some of the same things that I am going to discuss in this particular video. It is telegraphing to us the very same things that we are being shown over and over and over again, and that is about a dystopian future, okay, that is coming very soon, where women are forced to live as concubines under a fundamentalist theocratic dictatorship. Now, there is even more so, I believe, than meets the eye here. We are being shown a lot of different themes here: martial law, New World Order, women's rights being stripped away from them. In fact, I'm sure much of humanity's rights is being stripped away as well. I believe they're not even telling you the half of it here on IMDb. And let's just take a look right now at some of the screenshots from this trailer. I found it quite interesting that it starts off right away with the main character who is right here, Offred, and she's speaking, saying, "I was asleep before. That's how we let it happen." So we're really being told right off the bat what's coming and why. Why? Because we were sleeping, because society has been falling for the lies, for the programming. They have been obsessed with self and just doing their own thing, obsessed with entertainment and not really wanting to wake up as to what is going on and what we're being shown. And the next scene we see again Offred saying that when they slaughtered Congress, we didn't wake up. So something again that really shows possibly the real stupidity of society, that even after after them getting rid of Congress, they still didn't wake up. We could possibly say that society already is at a tipping point or getting to the point where they are completely programmed, they're completely mind controlled, and they just couldn't be bothered to look at what is taking place in the world as we know it. And even in this picture here, you can notice the major bird imagery over here, here, and here in 3 spots, almost making a triangle, a pyramid, with this guy standing in the middle. And could this be possibly the rise of the phoenix that we are being shown here, the rise of the New World Order, the beast system that is coming very, very soon? In fact, you can also see, the red, black, and white New World Order color symbolism, which we will see later on as well. And as we keep going over, it says, when they blamed terrorists and suspended the Constitution. Now, that is completely, in my opinion, about martial law that is coming. We know that the elites want to suspend the Constitution of America because right now, that is the one thing that is protecting Americans and possibly even free society from what the New World Order or the elites want to do to them. And that is the all-out control and taking the rights of every single person. And what I found quite interesting about this picture is you got 9 people here sitting on this table. So 9 is a big number to the Illuminati, to the occult. They're also dressed in black and white, which to me is signifying the duality, as above, so below. But we know that 9, we've even heard the term the Council of 9 in the New World Order.
For this video, I want to talk about the late Leonard Nimoy, or Mr. Spock. He was the star on the hit 60s TV show Star Trek. He passed away at the age of 83 due to chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, and a lot of folks are bringing up the Vulcan symbol that the character Spock made so famous. But what does this symbol actually represent? Well, according to Nimoy, in an interview he did for the National Yiddish Book Center in 2013, the symbol has Jewish roots. Here's a short clip of Nimoy describing how he came about this symbol.
So I'm with my father and my grandfather and my brother sitting in the bench seats. Women were upstairs. 5 or 6 guys get up on the bima on the stage, and they're facing the congregation. They get their talit over their heads, and they start this chanting. I think it's called duchening. And my father said to me, "Don't look." So everybody's got their eyes covered with their hands, or they've got their talit down over their faces, or turned away, turned their back to these guys. And I hear this strange sound coming from them. They're not singers. They were shouters. And dissonant. It was all discordant. And they were doing like, that kind of wailing. And all discordant, not together, not in unison. And then the leader would shout out, Yevorechecho! And the rest of them would respond, Yevorechecho! It was chilling. Whoa, something major is happening here. So I peeked, and I saw them with their hands stuck out from beneath their talit like this towards the congregation. I thought, wow. Something really got hold of me. I thought, I had no idea what was going on, but the sound of it and the look of it was magical. This is the shape of the letter Shin, Hebrew alphabet Shin. Very interesting letter in the language. It's the first letter in the word Shaddai, the first letter in the word Shalom, first letter in the word Shekhinah, which is the name of the feminine aspect of God, who supposedly was created to live amongst humans, the Shekhinah.
So there you go. Now, in doing a little bit of digging into the symbol myself, I thought I'd make a few comments regarding it and the connection it has to Hollywood and Star Trek, and even the occult and the Illuminati or the Elite Order, who take their directions from fallen spirits, which will make their appearance as well in this short little video. So as he described, the hand symbol represents the Hebrew letter Shin. According to Kabbalistic sources, there are two sides to the Shin. The right side, where the Shin possesses 3 heads and represents this world, and the left side, which possessed 4 heads and represents the world to come. Each of the 3 prongs of the Shin represents different dimensions of the human being, one being the Kesser, will and pleasure, the second being intellect, and the third being emotion. And each of these have their own paths, and not surprisingly, there are several more layers of hidden meaning, of which isn't really that important for this video, but I'll leave some links where you can check them out for yourself. Now, the ritual that Leonard Nimoy was talking about there is a priestly blessing known as the Dukanin, which is performed by the Kohanims, who are the Jewish priests thought to be the descendants of Aaron, the Most High, brother of Moses, and according to Jewish tradition have been divinely chosen to work in the Jewish temple and assist others in serving God. Here is an image of the Kohanim performing this blessing. Does anything look familiar to you? If you studied occult symbolism at all, you know right away that this is very similar to the rock sign of the Illuminati that people have pointed out for a long time. Now, I don't really want to go down this rabbit trail right now, but I did want to point it out because it is very similar. Now, the real hidden spiritual deception behind this whole thing is found in the show Star Trek. The guy who created Star Trek, Gene Roddenberry, has a very interesting past, getting mixed up with a group that called themselves the Council of Nine. The Nine claimed to be the Ennead, or the 9 major gods of ancient Egypt, and the 9 principles of the universe. The story is long and complicated, but in short, it goes back to 1952 when the founder of the Round Table Foundation, a medical doctor named Andrija Puharich, who had been doing paranormal and psychic research for years, brought in an Indian mystic named Dr. D.G. Vinod, who began to channel the 9. The history that follows is fascinating to look at, and many prominent people in culture have crossed paths with Puharich and his channelers, one of which who was a young Israeli named Uri Geller. By the time Puharich set up Lab 9 in New York, he was backed by multi-millionaire businessmen, European nobility, scientists from Stanford Research Institute, and prominent political figures. And so again, one of the folks influenced by this Council of 9, these spiritual beings that were being channeled, is Gene Roddenberry, the creator of Star Trek. And in fact, if you take a look at the number 9, you'll see it run through various elements of Star Trek throughout its various incarnations. But furthermore, the number 9 in general has been displayed throughout many Hollywood films, as seen here. But let's get down to the Vulcan himself. Spock was a hybrid, half human, half alien. But if we reach further back into history, we find that the Vulcan was the god of fire, where we get the word volcano. Of course, we should immediately notice the connection with Lucifer, the morning star, or Prometheus, the light bearer. He was also the god of metalworking and the forge, with the medieval alchemist Paracelsus declaring Vulcan as the god of alchemy, which might have something to do with Azazel, the Watcher, in the Book of Enoch, who taught mankind to make weapons. Now, this is interesting to consider because another name for Vulcan is Tubal-Cain. In Genesis 4:22, we read, "And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artier in brass and iron." And so how did Tubal-Cain learn that stuff? Perhaps he was taught this by Azazel the Watcher, who taught mankind all the things of making weapons and of warfare. So if you look at the Gill's exposition of the entire Bible, here's what it states on a commentary for Genesis 4:22, quote, "And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, thought by many to be the same with Vulcan, his name and business agreeing, for the names are near in sound. Tubal-Cain may easily pass into Vulcan, and who with the heathens was the god of the smiths, and the maker of Jupiter's thunderbolts, as this was an artificer of iron and brass. As follows, his name is compounded of 2 words, the latter of which was no doubt put into the name in memory of Cain, his great ancestor, and former Josephus reads Theobald, and says of him that he exceeded all in strength, and had great skill in military affairs." Now, all this comes full circle when we read Manly P. Hall in his book The Lost Keys of Freemasonry, or The Secrets of Hiram Abiff, this quote, When the Mason learns that the key to the warrior on the block is the proper application of the dynamo of living power, he has learned the mastery of his craft. The seething energies of Lucifer are in his hands, and before he may step onward and upward, he must prove his ability to properly apply energy. He must follow in the footsteps of his forefather Tubal-Cain, who, with the mighty strength of the war god, hammered his sword into a plowshare. So, in conclusion, the bottom line is that the Vulcan symbol that everyone loves and enjoys has deep occult roots in not just mystical Hebraic tradition, but also the Illuminati and the occult and the Masons. And so the show Star Trek itself was wrought with channeled influences from the so-called Council of Nine, which I forgot to mention earlier that some folks have suggested that this whole thing with the Council of Nine was a CIA mind control operation, which it very well could have been. And so the mixture of aliens, pagan gods, channeled spirits, and the occult all come together in this one character of Spock, the hybrid Vulcan human, who was played by the late Leonard Nimoy. And while I don't know where Leonard Nimoy is now, even though I have an opinion of where he might be, let's pray that people don't fall for these satanic traditions that have been so deeply embedded into our culture.
Well, I understand you are a Star Trek fan.
Absolutely.
That certainly was a show inspired a utopian future, inspired by technology. I'm curious, what about that show shaped your vision of an optimistic future?
I was a sucker for Star Trek when I was a kid. Even though when you look back, I think there are only 20 episodes, right? They just looped over and over again, but they were always fun to watch.
The Federation's very diverse, the crew's very diverse, it's a bunch of diverse group of people. And the bad guys aren't usually evil, they're just misguided or broken. And so it's a much more optimistic view of humans as well, you know, and then a lot of shows that are about, you know, superheroes or evil, and the struggles are kind of wonderfully sort of balanced.
Well, I think that's right. I think Star Trek, like any good story, says that we're all complicated and we all got a little bit of Spock and a little bit of Kirk and a little bit of Scotty and maybe some Klingon in us, right?
This is the presentation of the Space Force flag. So we've worked very hard on this, and it's so important from a defensive standpoint, from an offensive standpoint, from every standpoint there is. As you know, China, Russia, perhaps others started off a lot sooner than us. We should have started this a long time ago, but we've made up for it in spades.
These are the voyages of the Starship Enterprise. Its continuing mission:
to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations.
That's fantastic. That is
great. Hey, any fish? And I was reading Ezekiel 8 again. I'm just completely being led to this particular chapter because, I mean, my spirit is just telling me there's a lot here to be, you know, a lot to be learned here. And it pertains to exactly what's going on today. And again, you're going to have to read Ezekiel 8 and understand it for yourself. And everything I tell you, I can only tell you to take it to prayer, discern everything, and research it for yourself. But when he tells them to dig into the wall, now they're at the temple now, and this is God giving Ezekiel these visions, and he tells them to behold the wicked abominations that they do, the idols of the house of Israel, the 70 men of the ancients of the house of Israel. And he repeats these things over and over. See what they do, the ancients of the house of Israel, in the dark. Every man, he seeth us not, right? So there's your Isaiah 29:15. So again, I'm led right back to the synagogue. And this time, I was led to count all the chairs and to study how this is laid out. And this is what I'm going to share with you in this particular video. If you look in this synagogue and count all the chairs, both in the audience section and in the inner circle here, this little semicircle, you have 111 seats in total. And once I got that figure, it was obvious to me, and I was literally just led right to where I had seen these things before. And this is all related to the Kabbalah. Okay? You have your Kabbalah tree, your 10-10-10, and your 1-1-1, and the knowledge of learning and gaining throughout your life, essentially. Kabbalah is very, very ancient and very, very Jewish. What is Kabbalah? It is the soul of Judaism. This is what they say. But the Kabbalah also has other uses. And, you know, the ones who attend the synagogue, essentially they're probably 98% well-meaning, God-loving. They sincerely seek the Lord God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, but they're being deceived. Okay? And that little tiny percentage, they're the ones that are doing the deceiving, and they're the ones that are working for Satan. And hardly any of them even know it. But some of them do. And they work off of the Kabbalah tree. Now, there are many versions. The tarot emanates from the Kabbalah tree. Okay, you need to look into this stuff if you're so inclined. The two pillars, Jachin and Boaz, outside of the temple, which I believe is what was being referred to in Ezekiel as the abominations at the gate of the altar. I just don't see how God could approve of them. And he tells Ezekiel to go into and see the abominations that they do. And just for this video, because I just can't contain and show all of it to you, but the 111 should just tell you that they're totally Kabbalists. And the way that these chairs are situated is very, very telling. Because if you look on the inner section here, there are 2 rows of 4 chairs at the very, very center of the synagogue here. Right up towards the front, which is right here. You see these 2 rows of 4 chairs? Those, plus the idol, because that's what I'm calling it. I'm calling that an abomination. They've gone in here more or less in secret, doing it right in front of us though, because that's what they do. And they've created an abomination almost directly below where the holies of holies, the literal presence of God would be. And there's 8 chairs, and the 1, 9. That's what's known as the Council of 9. And if you don't believe that that's true, I just don't know what to tell you. But, I mean, simple wiki, if you do any digging into this, you'll find the real nitty-gritty details, but the Council of 9 is very real. It was to punish mankind, Zeus, and 8 other deities gathered to form the Council of 9. It's all here. And once again, to illustrate how they put it right in your face. Check this out. Everybody has seen this. Everyone has seen the avocados from Mexico. So very funny, very comical, hilarious commercial. This is the level that they go, because it's so outrageous. Who would ever think that they're going to actually show you the truth in a stupid avocado commercial while they're mocking the living daylights out of you? It's just ridiculous.
Even before he was elected pope, the cardinals during the pre-conclave asked the new pontiff to hold regular meetings with a small group of cardinals apart from the Roman Curia. After the white smoke finally cleared the air, Pope Francis accepted the proposal and appointed a council of 8 cardinals to advise him on matters of the church. This happened just a month after his election on April 13, 2013. The Pope has felt the need to be a reformer specifically of the Roman Curia. He needed a group of counselors with an outside perspective to identify what was not working and suggest changes. He asked them for 2 things: to help him reform the Roman Curia and to help him govern the Catholic Church. A few months later, the group of 8 cardinals welcomed a new member, the new Secretary of State, Cardinal Pietro Parolin. Hence, they became known as the C9.
But 9 just so happens to represent in Illuminati numerology, which I believe I've shown this article before, but number 9 is the number of divine completion and the number of the fall of man. So we are being shown cryptically that the big fall is coming, that the divine work or the divine completion, the great work of the Freemasons, the great architect, Lucifer himself, their great work, the beast system, is about to come into place very, very soon. The final beast kingdom is coming. And as we keep going, we'll see Alfred saying that society still didn't wake up even after all of this happened. So they abolished Congress, the Constitution. We were all asleep and we didn't get it. So what does that tell you? I really believe that it says that the complete control and takeover of society has been successful, that we've got the New World Order with their martial law all over the place. Even right in the scene here, we can see the Humvees, we can see the men with the guns, all dressed in black like the military. We can see even these handmaids walking all over the place dressed in red and white, which we will address later on. But the complete control of society is being shown here. We keep seeing these same colors over and over again, something that I have talked about many times in so many videos and so many of these TV shows, this red, black, and white color symbolism, the same colors that we are being shown. And I believe it all comes from not just the Nazi flag, but even before that, the white, red, and black comes from, I believe, in my opinion, the 4 or 3 of the 4 horsemen of the apocalypse that bring the judgment, or that begin the judgment of this world. I believe this is where the New World Order colors are really stemming from, and we are constantly being shown that because the final beast kingdom is coming very, very soon. We see a scene of a workplace, and all of a sudden this person who is possibly a supervisor or a manager is saying that all the women are suddenly being let go from their jobs, that it is a law now. So basically a sinister plan awaits the fertile ones to be used as slaves for the ruling class. So could you imagine if you as a woman are suddenly being let go from your job for this, to be a slave for the ruling class, all because many are now infertile due to toxic air. So to me, this is more war propaganda or a major cataclysm that is coming, something like a geostorm, even when we talked about in that movie that's actually called Geostorm, about some major natural disaster or something that is coming that, either scorches the sky or causes something so horrible to happen that literally even the air is made toxic and made so that many women are infertile now. And so the ones that are left fertile have a specific job to do in the New World Order that arises. So again, propaganda, I believe, for a major war. The same things that we were shown in movies like Hunger Games or Divergent or even The Giver, where it always started off with some kind of cataclysm or war, and out of the ashes rose the solution, the order out of chaos, as they love to say. So I believe the same kind of propaganda is being shown yet again. As we keep going, we see the women leaving their jobs, and they're looking all around. They're seeing the army guys, they're seeing the militia all over the place, and then another voice comes on saying they needed to do it this way, all the bank accounts and all the jobs at the same time. Imagine the airports otherwise. So we're being told here that the American people are possibly going to be trapped inside their own country, not able to leave. So, what does this remind you of? I know that as soon as I heard that line about everything being taken down at once, the jobs and the bank accounts and not being able to leave, right away I thought of Trump's wall, something that he has been speaking about for years and obviously still comes up. I'm really wondering now if whether this is something that has been cryptically hinted at the American people, or possibly even the different regions of the world, as to what this great work will entail. So this wall that Trump has been talking about is also been shown in the TV series called Colony. We did a video on this particular television show some time back, but again, it takes place in the city of LA, I believe, in Santa Monica, and they are all encased in this wall. They are trapped. They cannot get out. There is heavy martial law with the guards all over the place. So really, we are being shown the same things over and over again. And just another thing about Colony, yet again, the red, white, and black color symbolism is seen all the time. All right, so there you go, the major New World Order color symbolism. Same kind of thing constantly we are being shown in these television shows and movies that, of course, have to do with the New World Order that is coming very, very soon. So really, again, as we keep going, we see major chaos ensues, courtesy, of course, of the New World Order's plan coming together. People are starting to riot and trying to do something, but really it is too late now, because even though they're trying to rally and get something to happen, it's not going to pan out for them, because now it's too late, as we see that basically, in my opinion, when this time comes, all protests and demonstrations by the public will be met with the full force of martial law. The military will be out there. People will be squashed. Their voices will not be heard.
Yeah, what a difference a day makes compared to this time last night. A couple of blocks north of the White House, you got National Guard down the next block, all kinds of Washington Metro police here. I've seen Humvees down the end, I think, of this street and the next street. We've had Black Hawk helicopters flying literally just above rooftop level of these low-rise office buildings, and not a demonstrator in sight, at least not in the vicinity of the White House. They are marching in other streets of the Capitol. All of that punctuated by a forceful move from Donald Trump late this afternoon.
It was a remarkable moment, symbolic defiance to back up what Donald Trump had just announced. The president walking out the front gate of the White House grounds, crossing Pennsylvania Avenue and into Lafayette Park, where last night demonstrators had battled with police and security forces, and where all day today protesters had gathered again to continue their message aimed at Trump to say something, to do something about the death of George Floyd and the racial divide in this country. Trump walked through the park, past giant graffitied walls with messages slamming the president. He walked all the way to a small church across the park, vandalized last night. He held up a Bible and then walked back to the White House. Not 15 minutes earlier, Trump had been in the Rose Garden with an extraordinary announcement. Opening with comments aimed at the Floyd family. It was the kind of thing demonstrators had wanted.
For George and his family, justice will be served. He will not have died in vain.
But Trump was only just getting started. He then turned to the demonstrations. He reiterated comments made earlier today to state governors, calling them weak, urging aggression against violent protesters.
Today, I have strongly recommended to every governor to deploy the National Guard in sufficient numbers that we dominate the streets. Mayors and governors must establish an overwhelming law enforcement presence.
Effectively saying he'll do what it takes if states can't put down the demonstrations on their own, including, he said, calling in the full power of the U.S. military.
I am mobilizing all available federal resources, civilian and military, to stop the rioting and looting, to end the destruction and arson, and to protect the rights of law-abiding Americans.
It's a stunning thing for any president to say. Said Trump, law and order is the foundation of the U.S. way of life. Without it, he said, there is no justice, no liberty. As he spoke, police were moving demonstrators away from the White House area, where Trump would soon walk over to that church, Bible in hand, tear gas lingering in the air.
And some strong reaction quickly tonight from the bishop of that church, Andrew. I'm going to quote, "I don't want President Trump speaking for the church. I am outraged. I was not given even a courtesy call that they would be clearing with tear gas so they could use one of our churches as a prop, holding a Bible when everything he has said and done is to inflame violence. And the bishop went on from there. Meanwhile, demonstrators are marching the streets of Washington tonight, Andrew, but not in the vicinity of the White House.
Paul Hunter in Washington. Thanks very much.
So really the voice of the people won't mean anything, much for much longer. We won't be heard because we let the New World Order elite win. We were asleep. We let them take over. We let them go with their scams. We didn't look into things. We didn't investigate things. We blindly believe what the media has been telling us. We let the movies and the TV shows and all of the entertainment program us. We let sports distract us and what have you. This is what is going to be the result, at least in my opinion. I don't mean to speak doom and gloom. I am just trying to put out there a warning because this is what I see coming to North America very, very soon. And next, we go to a scene where we meet the commander, played by Joseph Fiennes. Now, Alfred's new job is to become his concubine. So, I don't mean to sound rude or perverted, but the reality is that the Illuminati are obsessed with sex, and it's really sad to say. And before I even get into that, again, we see the same false messiah kind of look with the full beard, something like Thor and something like even what we've seen other cult leaders look like or depicted in different TV shows. But again, this false messiah kind of look as we see here. But really, the Illuminati, these elites, are obsessed with sex, and we are going to see that right now in a bit, because there's even a great article that I pulled from a guy named Tex Mars, and it's actually called "The Illuminati Are Obsessed with Sex." Okay, so the word obelisk literally means Baal's shaft or Baal's organ of reproduction. Again, I'm sorry, I don't mean to sound perverted. I'm just trying to present information just to prove a point here. But this should be especially shocking when we realize that we have a gigantic obelisk in our nation's capital known as the Washington Monument. So, he goes on to say, in my latest video, Baal's shaft and Cleopatra's needle appears to have really shocked those who have so far seen it. Viewers report surprise that the Illuminati elite and their secret societies are able to plant and display so much architecture of a vulgar and offensive sexual nature out in the open in plain sight. My in-depth investigation finds that the Illuminati constitutes the world's most obsessed sex cult. Architects and builders of the Illuminati and its secret societies have proven their devotion to Satan's kingdom by honoring and revering the mystery gods and goddesses, and are ever busy creating new sex idols devoted to sacred demons. Okay, so secret society rituals, symbols, logos, art, and architecture is saturated with the covert sexism and rakish debauchery. Take, for example, the Masonic Lodge's square and compass logo, and it gives a description here that Masonic sex perverts, the symbols of the Masonic Lodge are permeated with sexual meaning. The tubal cain pin worn by some Masons symbolizes the male genitals. Okay, and I'll leave that description for you to read for yourself. The familiar Masonic square and compass represents the male mounting the female in the sex act. The G within stands for the holy fire, the act of sexual regeneration. So really, this holy fire to me is a perversion of the Ruach HaKodesh. What these people are full of is the spirit of the devil. We know also that the compass and the square in the logo of Freemasonry, in my opinion, represents cryptically the flat earth model, the biblical flat earth, where the compass can make the circle of the earth and the square where the circle sits in. So really, apart from that, again, major sexual imagery with the Freemasons, with the mystery religions in general. We can see this is definitely a Masonic lodge here. You've got the all-seeing eye here. You've got the Masonic logos here, and here you've got the Grand Masters of this particular lodge, and they've got a woman performing sexual moves or very provocative things on this particular chair. We've seen this in other videos as well, what the Masons do. This is, again, sex magic. These people are obsessed with this kind of thing. And again, I hate to show this kind of stuff, but really this is what is, I believe, being shown here when we talk about this particular movie, that how Alfred is going to be a concubine for this person, for the commander, as well as the other handmaids are going to be serving the different elite people or the ruling class. And another thing that I believe this connects to is Baal worship, Ashtoreth worship, I've shown this article before, but when we look down here at the practices of worshiping Baal and Asherah, what I found quite fascinating is that Asherah was worshipped in various ways, including through ritual sex. Okay, so although she was believed to be Baal's mother, she was also his mistress. Pagans practice sympathetic magic, that is, they believe they could influence the gods' actions by performing the behavior they wish the gods to demonstrate. Believing the sexual union of Baal and Asherah produced fertility. Their worshippers engaged in immoral sex to cause the gods to join together, ensuring good harvests. This practice became the basis for religious prostitution, which is noted in 1 Kings 14, 23 to 24. The priest or a male member of the community represented Baal. The priestess or a female members of the community represented Asherah. In this way, God's incredible gift of sexuality was perverted to the most obscene public prostitution. No wonder God's anger burned against his people and their leaders. So I believe the same possible thing is being shown in this television series, that these handmaids, the ones that are fertile, are being kept for the elite, the ruling class, and they are just going to use them for ritual sex and to have children. But really, it's all about Baal Asherah practices.
She who walks the seas, she whose years are uncounted, the Lilith Queen. As the moon changes its shape, Asherah remains unchanged. Her fury is the silence before the storm, her sorrow crashing waves and thunder. Her beauty that the dawn breaking, and her loneliness constant and deep. Beware the daughter of the sea, for one day she will be free of dreams. Stranger in the night, walk on by.
You know, quite fascinating enough, Easter is definitely named after Isis, Ishtar, Ashtaroth. It's all the same thing. This is something that is permeated, sadly, in the church today. They don't even realize what Easter is. It is a celebration of the goddess Ishtar, Isis, Mystery Babylon, Ashtaroth, the same thing that is mentioned in the Bible. Again, as we showed this logo at the beginning, this is really what it's all about. The Star of Ishtar, the Star of Isis, the Star of Mystery Babylon. You even got the red here that this handmaid is wearing, possibly symbolizing the womb, the blood, all this, the menstrual blood, all this kind of thing. This is all part of Illuminati, Mystery Babylonian rituals, and we are being shown that possibly this is ritual sex magic that is being depicted in this particular TV series. Again, the Star of Isis with the 8-pointed star, again, the number of new beginning, the new world order that is coming. And again, I found another article about this show from the New York Times, and there was a couple of interesting paragraphs in this particular show, and it starts off down here where it says that the ritual, so this is about the sex ritual that these people do, but where they copulate with the commander and because of his infertile wife, and of course with the ruling elites, the ritual borrowed from the biblical story of Bilhah and Rachel. Okay, so we know that Bilhah was Rachel's handmaid, and of course the same kind of lingo or terminology being used there, but Bilhah was given to Jacob by Rachel so that she could have children through her. So this is really a perversion of what was happening with Jacob. But as we keep going, we'll see there's something more interesting here. So you'll see, you might guess that the producers added certain on the nose details to be topical. Refugees fleeing for Canada. We've heard that many of the Hollywood stars were claiming that they were going to flee to Canada because when Trump got elected and all that kind of nonsense. But really, is it possible that America is going to become such a place where people will want to flee and come up to Canada? And it says Gilead's leaders leveraging fear of Islamic terrorists, feminist street protests before the regime's crackdown. It's all in the novel. So again, Islamic terrorists, the same, fake narrative. We know that Islamic terrorism, not that it doesn't happen, but it is basically hyped up and possibly staged by the media. That
war and danger. Continuing danger. Hour of danger. Very, very dangerous world. A grave new threat. Horrific acts of atrocities. Murderous regimes dedicating to killing us. Tyranny and terror. Slaughtered thousands. Weapons of mass destruction. Weapons of mass destruction. Weapons programs.
The deadliest of weapons.
Terrible weapons. Nuclear weapons.
Nuclear weapons.
Poison gas. Torture chambers. Mass graves.
Deadly technologies.
Radical ideology of hate.
Terror of threats.
Terror.
Terror.
Terror. War on terrorism. War against terrorism.
And here's something else I found interesting. I hate to say the story is newly relevant as if it weren't for 3 decades, but face it, when you have a president, aka Trump, who talks about women as if they were squeeze toys, who implied a tough female journalist was on her period, whose administration gathered a room full of male politicians to discuss women's health coverage, well, the viral marketing takes care of itself. So really Trump, is being shown here, it's already programming people for, treating women badly and, talking about women in a derogatory way. So that is something that already the president of the United States does. And it says here, Gilead, which is this new colony or who's running the place, is a tyranny of nostalgia, a rape culture that denounces the previous society, ours, for degrading women with pornography. It controls women by elevating them, fetishizing motherhood, praising femininity, but defining it in terms of service to men and children. So again, this show really degrades women and, puts them in bondage. And this is not what Abba Yahweh ever intended for women at all. He brought women or created women for man to be a suitable partner, to be a helper, not to be degraded in this way. And sadly, this is what is being shown, in this television series, and I really find it sad the way they are depicting women in this show and in this novel for that matter, because, possibly this could be what is coming later on down the pipe. And again, we see in the next scene women that are being trained for their new job, which is basically to be handmaids to bear children for the barren wives of the elite. So again, are we being shown again ritual, sex, magic? I found it quite interesting that there are 6 pairs of women here, and they are under the rays of the sun. And we know, according to Nimrod becoming the sun god, that he impregnated his wife, and that's how his son was born. She was impregnated by the rays of the sun. So this like basically Isis and Ishtar being impregnated by Nimrod, the sun god, because you've got the sun rays shining right down on the 6 pairs over here. So again, I think the same kind of thing is being shown to us over and over and over again. And as we keep going, we see one of the handmaids coming and telling somebody that there's an eye in your house. I believe this is a reference to the all-seeing eye of the Illuminati that is watching everyone.
We have cameras in place all over the world right now.
We used to go on adventures, we used to have fun and see things, and now it's all filtered through this.
Does this really seem okay to you?
Possibly having cameras all over the place, the fact that the New World Order has their technology and has their ways of spying on you and keeping their order with the people, keeping them under control. And, you know, again, what I find interesting is the red outfits that these handmaids are wearing. So why do you think that they wear these kinds of things? You know, I find it interesting that people like Nicki Minaj has been shown wearing something very similar. You know, here she showed up to the Grammy Awards back in 2012, and she's with this figure that looks like a Catholic bishop or even a Pope figure. He's got the same Dagon hat, you know, that they love to wear, all pagan worship here, but she's wearing the same kind of red ritualistic outfit. I believe she's depicting possibly Mystery Babylon riding the beast, possibly, okay, what this is representing her. She's even got this picture of Medusa, one of the pagan Greek gods, on her outfit right there. So I believe this could possibly be showing Mystery Babylon riding the beast, okay? Why she's wearing this red outfit? Because again, we constantly see this woman in red imagery, very provocative, very sexual, trying to get people excited about this, especially appealing to men. But, you know, again, Mystery Babylon, the confusion, the mother of harlots, exactly a reference, I believe, to Revelation 17. This is why I believe they are wearing these kinds of outfits. And you know, another reason is that even in the rituals of the Druids, the same kind of outfit is being worn by these women, this red and black or just red outfits. So really, the Druids, we know, perform major kinds of rituals. They are into witchcraft, and all kinds of the occult practices are being done by the Druids. So I believe that, again, is why these people or these handmaids in this show are wearing these kinds of things. And you know, as we keep going, we see this scene where basically the handmaids are told, plus anyone else for that matter, that if they don't obey, they'll be sent to the colonies to clean up the toxic waste. I believe this is yet more war and great ecological crisis predictive programming to get society ready for what is coming. And you know, you can see the blood all over the place here. I think we're being shown again the Baal bloodlust yet again, with human blood being spilt here. We have seen this in so many TV shows. We've done videos about that, shows like Santa Clarita Diet and Screamers and True Bloods, and all these shows that love to depict human sacrifice, human blood being spilled. This is what the devil wants. He comes to steal, kill, and destroy, and he wants to destroy humanity by getting humanity to destroy itself. Really, that's what's going on here. But I think this is, as we talk about this whole cleaning up the toxic waste and people being punished and sent to the colonies if they don't obey, that they have to do this. I believe, again, more ecological crisis coming, and this is exactly the words of David Rockefeller, something that we have mentioned quite a few times on this channel, as he has been quoted as saying, all we need is the right major crisis and the nations will accept the New World Order.
You never want a serious crisis to go to waste. And what I mean by that, it's an opportunity to do things that you think you could not do before.
So we know that Rockefeller is definitely one of the Illuminati, Jesuit, Kabbalistic Zionist elites. We know that he is definitely part of this. We know he's not alive right now, or so they say. Possibly he's hiding in his bunker, who knows. But the Rockefellers are definitely part of this New World Order plan to bring about this on all of society. And I found this next scene quite fascinating and quite telling. The person comes on saying, tonight is a celebration of Gilead and what we have achieved. So what is the name of Gilead? What does the name Gilead mean? I found it quite interesting that from this baby named Wizard, that Gilead just so happens to be in Hebrew, meaning the hill of testimony or the hill of ascension. You know, when you think of the Illuminati, they believe they are the Illumined ones. They believe that they are going to ascend to the next level. They want to be ascended masters. They think they have all the wisdom and knowledge, and that they hide this from society because we, the regular people, are the profane to them, and they believe they're going to ascend and be like gods, just as Satan fooled Adam and Eve in the garden, telling them they will be as gods. So the elite have fallen for the same lie, because the devil is up to the same tricks as he has always been. So quite fascinating that Gilead just so happens to mean in Hebrew the hill of ascension.
Google and Satan's parent company Ascension announced
They're working on a project together which will include sharing patient data between the two companies.
The partnership is raising privacy concerns and even led to a federal inquiry. Both organizations have large footprints in Austin. KXAN's Phil Prazen is live downtown in Austin with the details. Phil.
Well, Sydney, the project is called Nightingale, and both organizations put out information about it online. I reached out to see if there were any representatives available to talk on camera, and no one was made available. Ascension, which owns the Seton family of hospitals, hopes to host clinical data on Google platforms like the cloud. In healthcare, quick information can save money and can save lives. They hope this project will allow healthcare workers to get data faster. It will collect information on patients, including names, birth dates, lab tests, diagnoses, and medication history. They say the information will be separate from Google's marketing and search data. Artificial intelligence will be used, but the online write-up for the Ascension says a human will always make the final decision. I just spoke with Brad Gold, a lecturer on these types of issues at the University of Texas McCombs School of Business. He says much of how people feel about this is based on how people feel about the two organizations, because there isn't very much public regulation.
In terms of having a cohesive central place, no, that doesn't exist yet, and that's part of why I think consumers are concerned, because we want the organizations that are doing this to make sure that they are doing it responsibly.
Now, the companies say that they will adhere and to all the HIPAA regulations that are already in place. As for a possible bad actor, Gold tells me that will still have to be a human to abuse the system. Live in Austin, Phil Prazen, KXAN News.
But what's most fascinating is this symbol in the middle. I believe this is possibly a representation of the mother goddess Isis and Ishtar. We've got the female in the middle. We've got the crescent moon here, which I believe this is possibly making in the circle, the womb of Isis. And so when we look at, images of Isis, again, we see the moon symbolism. Isis, Ishtar, or the mother goddess, is always depicted with the moon. Of course, the false messiah or Nimrod is always depicted with the sun god worship. But again, Isis worship constantly depicted with the moon. We see the moonlight in the background, the same kind of thing constantly, this moon worship, which again has to do with Isis, the mother goddess. Same with the Muslims, they worship the moon, they worship Isis, and they don't even realize what they are worshiping.
They will not frame their doings to turn unto their God, for the spirit of whoredoms is in the midst of them, and they have not known the Lord. For the spirit of whoredoms is in the midst of them. My people ask counsel at their stocks, and their staff declareth unto them. For the spirit of whoredoms hath caused them to err, and they have gone a whoring from under their God. Unto the angel of the church in Thyatira write, These things saith the Son of God, who hath his eyes like unto a flame of fire, and his feet are like fine brass. I know thy works, and charity, and service, and faith, and thy patience, and thy works. Notwithstanding, I have a few things against thee, because thou sufferest that woman Jezebel, which calleth herself a prophetess, to teach and to seduce my servants to commit fornication, and to eat things sacrificed unto idols. And I gave her space to repent of her fornication, and she repented not. Behold, I will cast her into a bed, and them that commit adultery with her into great tribulation, except they repent of their deeds. And I will kill her children with death. And all the churches shall know that I am he which searcheth the reins and hearts. And I will give unto every one of you according to your works. But unto you I say, and unto the rest in Thyatira, as many as have not this doctrine, and which have not known the depths of Satan, and which have not known the depths of Satan, because thou sufferest that woman Jezebel, And there came one of the 7 angels which had the 7 vials, and talked with me, saying unto me, Come hither, I will show unto thee the judgment of the great whore that sitteth upon many waters, with whom the kings of the earth have committed fornication, and the inhabitants of the earth have been made drunk with the wine of her fornication. So he carried me away in the spirit into the wilderness, and I saw a woman sit upon a scarlet-colored beast, and the woman was arrayed in purple and scarlet color, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, having a golden cup in her hand, full of abominations and filthiness of her fornication. And upon her forehead was a name written, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots and abominations of the earth. I heard another voice from heaven saying, Come out of her, my people, that ye be not partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. Reward her even as she rewarded you, and double unto her double according to her works. In the cup which she hath filled, fill to her double. How much she hath glorified herself and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she saith in her heart, I sit a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore shall her plagues come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she shall be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judgeth her. Rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God hath avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, Thus with violence shall that great city Babylon be thrown down, and shall be found no more at all. For by thy sorceries were all nations deceived, and in her was found the blood of prophets, and of saints, and of all that were slain upon the earth. And after these things I heard a great voice of much people in heaven, saying, Hallelujah! Salvation and glory and honor and power unto the Lord our God. For true and righteous are his judgments. For he hath judged the great whore, which did corrupt the earth with her fornication, and hath avenged the blood of his servants at her hand. And again they said, Hallelujah! And her smoke rose up forever and ever.
All right, so the same kind of thing I believe is being shown here, this particular logo of Gilead, thinking that they're on the hill of ascension, that they're going to ascend to the next level, and showing the womb of Isis, which I believe, they are using these handmaids as their womb so that they can propagate their race, so that the elites can live on and keep bringing their chaos all over the world. And, this next scene I find really sad, even though this handmaid has an eerily blissful smile on her face, but looks to have been physically abused. That is really sad to me because, again, we as men, we are commanded to love our women, to love our wives. We are to take care of them. We are to cherish them. We are to give them the love and the dignity that they deserve. We are supposed to take care of our women. This is what is commanded to us. If we want to be respected as men, then we need to be taking care of our women. We need to be loving them. We need to be fulfilling their needs. We need to be treating them with dignity. We need to be cherishing them. But I just hate seeing a woman being abused, even though this is a television show, but still, I just find that a very sad case. But as we get back to the symbolism, I also find it quite interesting that this is possibly the Illuminati all seeing one eye in our faces again, showing us that possibly the beast kingdom is coming very soon. I won't be surprised if that's what they're showing us. And the next scene to me is quite telling because, as they say, what we have achieved, we see this one-eyed handmaid is pregnant, okay, and the rays of the sun are upon her. So is this showing again a depiction of Isis being impregnated by the sun rays of Nimrod? So is this showing a blessing of Nimrod as well? Are we being shown that the child to come from the one-eyed handmaid will be the illumined one himself, the beast, the false Messiah, Tammuz, the resurrection of Nimrod? Is this what we're being shown here very cryptically? And, in my opinion, pretty much in our faces here. Again, the rays of the sun all over this woman, this pregnant, one-eyed handmaid. And as we keep going, we see a scene with the commander who says, we only wanted to make the world better, but that doesn't mean better for everyone. So really, again, the truth in plain sight here, we are all being lied to by the world leaders about, a better world that's coming, as it's only for the elites. I remember even Barack Obama, when he was still the president, he would give these great speeches talking about how everyone's going to have a fair shot, that this new world order is coming and it's going to be great for everyone, even when they give their spiel about climate change and thinking that they're going to save the world. But really, all they are talking about is themselves. Their world is only about the elites. It's not about the general public. So again, they are lying to people constantly on a regular basis. And as we keep going, we see this evil mistress telling Ophrad that, remember your scripture, blessed are the meek. And Ophrad says, and blessed are those who suffer for the cause of righteousness. So all this while Ophrad is being beaten by this evil person. Wikipedia actually has an article or a write-up about the actual original novel of this particular, where this TV show comes from. Again, it was written by Margaret Atwood. She just happens to be a Canadian. And what I find quite interesting is that it says in the plot summary that this begins with a staged attack, okay, that kills the president. We've spoken about the fact that Trump could be possibly assassinated. There's many clues being put out there about Trump being assassinated. So again, a staged attack that kills the president and most of Congress, a Christian fundamentalist movement calling itself the Sons of Jacob. Now that's what I found quite fascinating here. They call themselves the Sons of Jacob. But when I heard that, right away I thought of this guy, good old Jacob Rothschild. Many of you are familiar with this man. He is one of the top elite people and from the wealthiest families of the world. So he is a major Freemason, Illuminati, a Zionist person. He is definitely behind a lot of what is going on in the world today. And, I found this article very fascinating back from 2016, the 5 biggest threats to humanity exposed. And what they actually talk about are the 5 people or families that are responsible for what is going on in this world. It says these individual families and families are the real people behind our political corruption, our world's destruction, and our economic enslavement. It's time the world learned their names. So they bring up the Rockefellers, who we've already spoken about. They bring up Henry Kissinger. We know a lot about him. They bring up Larry Summers. They bring up George Soros, go figure. And of course, they bring up the Rothschilds. And these people are all Illuminati, Kabbalistic Jewish people. They are definitely not for the true Messiah. They are for the false Messiah. They follow the light of Lucifer, which is the false light. It says, last but not least, we have the Rothschild family. The Rothschilds are arguably the richest family in the world and essentially own a majority of the world's central banks, which are private institutions in most countries, as well as the international, or the IMF and the World Bank. The Rothschilds' well-known patriarch, Mayer Armstrong Rothschild, once said, "Give me control of a nation's money, and I care not who makes the laws." This has been the maxim of the Rothschild family ever since. The Rothschilds are also responsible for Zionism, a racist ideology opposed by many Jews. So many normal Jews, they oppose that ideology of Zionism. It is very racist. And the state of Israel, which has caused numerous wars in the Middle East in its short history and is responsible for the unbelievable suffering of the Palestinian people. With so much money and so much power, the Rothschilds have incredible amounts of influence in U.S. and international politics, even so much so that Hillary Clinton has begged them forgiveness in leaked emails. This one family has the power to economically destroy any nation that doesn't do what the Rothschilds want. So again, I found it quite interesting that this book, or the movement that took down the government, that staged the attack on the president, took out the Congress, and suspended the Constitution, was called the Sons of Jacob. I think that is a in our faces cryptic, or not even cryptic, in our faces hint or clue that the Rothschilds, the Zionist Illuminati, will be all behind the New World Order that is coming. They are behind all the programming. They own Hollywood. They put out this kind of propaganda. So it shouldn't surprise any of us that this group is called the Sons of Jacob, which possibly is a hint to Jacob Rothschild and his cronies. So do not be deceived. We are being shown the same themes over and over again. In fact, this same TV show and novel was already made into a movie back in 1990. It starred Robert Duvall and Aidan Quinn. Even Faye Dunaway was in it. But in 1990, here we are in 2017, almost 30 years later, and a TV show is now coming out about the very same novel and this same movie. Again, a dystopian society, polluted right-wing religious tyranny. A young woman is put in sexual slavery on account of her now rare fertility. So again, almost 30 years ago, this aired on the big screen. Okay, it was almost a 2-hour feature film. So yet again, the same thing being shown for decades. So we are being programmed like crazy. This is nothing new. Just as Ecclesiastes 1 verse 6 says that there is nothing new under the sun. What's been done before will be done again. So again, to recap, The Handmaid's Tale, in my opinion, is all about New World Order propaganda. The rights of women being stripped, that the rights of the general public will be taken care of by martial law, that there's order coming out of chaos, that they're going to cause something, they're going to stage an attack, possibly the U.S. president. You know, Donald Trump has been there have been many cryptic hints for Trump being assassinated, or, you know, possibly the U.S. president being assassinated, and out of the chaos that ensues, the New World Order will arise, and possibly a very fascist dictatorship will arise in America. That is possibly coming very soon. I believe that the elites need to take down America. They need to take down the Constitution because they know that is the one thing that is protecting society. This new beginning is coming very soon, and this is what I believe this particular television series is all about. So, as always, I thank you for watching. Please do not believe anything that I say. Do your own research, but be aware of what is being shown to us in plain sight.
Be strong in the Lord and in his mighty power. Put on the full armor of God so that you can take your stand against the devil's schemes. For our struggle is not against flesh and blood, but against the rulers, against the authorities, against the powers of this dark world, and against the spiritual forces of evil in the heavenly realms. Therefore, put on the full armor of God, so that when the day of evil comes, you may be able to stand your ground. And after you have done everything, to stand firm then, with the belt of truth buckled around your waist, with the breastplate of righteousness in place, and with your feet fitted with the readiness that comes from the gospel of peace. In addition to all this, take up the shield of faith, with which you can extinguish all the flaming arrows of the evil one. Take the helmet of salvation and the sword of the Spirit, which is the word of God, and pray in the Spirit on all occasions, with all kinds of prayers and requests. With this in mind, be alert, and always keep on praying for all the Lord's people.